Good evening, everyone. I am meteorologist Tyler Sherrod here. We're doing a live stream covering some of the severe weather that we've been seeing here in the southeast. So right now, let's take a look at some current tornado watches. Luckily, there are no tornado warnings in the southeast right now, but that doesn't mean that everything's clear, because we still have plenty of tornado watches here in eastern Mississippi, as well as central and northern Alabama. And as these storms continue to trek to the east and to the north, we're starting to see some tornado watches in northwest Georgia, as well as central Tennessee, western Kentucky, even getting into southern Illinois and southern Indiana. So we're going to see these tornado watches here in eastern Mississippi start to expire at 8 p.m. Central Time, as well as in southern parts of Alabama. But getting up to the north, those tornado watches are going to last longer as those storms continue to trek to the east and northeast. The tornado watches there are going to last until 11 p.m. Central Time. And then these orange spots you see here throughout the map, those are severe thunderstorm warnings. So in those regions, be sure to get to a safe place if you haven't already, because those are nothing to joke about. Even if there's no tornado warning in place, severe thunderstorm warnings could still start to see some rotation, and you could see a tornado warning develop out of nowhere. So it's a good idea to stay aware no matter what. So here is our active radar. Still seeing plenty of storms move through Alabama. We'll zoom into that a little bit right here. And northwest Georgia, just on the outskirts of Atlanta, is starting to see some heavier precipitations and storms move through there as well. Mississippi, the western parts have pretty much cleared out now. Still seeing in the very eastern portions some line of storms move through. Zoom into this severe thunderstorm warning here, starting to get into Alabama. You can see some of the pink there at the end of this loop, showing some pretty heavy precipitation falling right there. But luckily, still no rotation in any of these storms. To the southeast of Birmingham and starting to move into Gadsden and Folsom, Alabama, you guys are going to start to see some pretty heavy rainfall pretty soon as well. And moving up to the north, not quite as widespread with the storms, but still seeing severe thunderstorm warnings here in southern Tennessee. Zoom in a little bit right around Savannah, Tennessee, and getting into Hardin as well. And really, Tennessee is going to start to see some storms move through as well. Nashville underneath that tornado watch as well. So if you're in Nashville, that's something to look out for as well. So those are just some of the active things going on. Atlanta, not really seeing much rainfall. That's situated to your northwest. No severe thunderstorm warnings yet, so you're still getting some thunderstorms, but nothing severe in nature, just something to keep an eye on to see if these storms continue to strengthen. So here is the Sbc Outlook that was issued for today. Northern Alabama was in that high-risk region. That includes Huntsville, Birmingham, and Tuscaloosa. And the high risk means about almost a 5 out of 5 chance of seeing a severe thunderstorm. So if you're in those regions, even now, still want to be weather aware and be sure that you're in a safe location in case storms start to intensify in your location. Earlier today, we had some confirmed tornadoes touch down in southwest of Montgomery. So even if you're not in the high-risk section of these outlooks, you still have to stay weather aware. This happened right around the enhanced to slight risk region, so having anywhere from a 2 to 3 out of 5 chance of seeing a severe thunderstorm. And anytime you see a severe thunderstorm, if you get enough rotation in these storms, you could start to see tornadoes develop. So really, if you're in any of going from the darker green inwards, dangerous storms could develop. The light green here, you can still see thunderstorms, but they won't be severe in nature. So still be weather aware when you're in those regions, but the risk is not quite so high whenever you're over there. It's really whenever you start getting into the green and yellow, and especially the red colors, and getting into pink. So here is our tornado potential. You're seeing a lot of the potential move away from Alabama and start to move to the east into Atlanta, northern Georgia, and western North Carolina. Although the tornado potential is moving to the east as we go throughout the night into the very early morning hours. The risk is not going to be quite as high as what we saw in northern Alabama earlier, but still some severe weather heading into this evening ahead. Seeing these storms as we go through to around the 7:45 time, you're going to see most of them dissipate, but all throughout the nighttime hours, we're going to see those storms move through. And let me just replay this for you guys again. Moving through Knoxville, Chattanooga, Nashville, going to see a line of storms move through as well. I'm actually going to go back here to our southeast severe weather radar to show you some other stuff that's going on here. We're going to look at the velocity, and our weather station is right around here on that I-20 corridor where we're seeing the green color transition to red. The green means that we're having the direction of the storms is heading towards the radar, and the red means that they're heading away. And basically, the divide here we have right now is showing that there's no rotations associated with these storms at the moment. They're more straight line storms here in central Alabama, but we still could see some rotation develop as we go throughout the evening. And the correlation coefficient here just shows us, we see a lot of the blue colors heavily concentrated. That means that there's debris, and that would indicate something possibly tornadic, but we don't see anything like that on the radar right now, fortunately. So once again, just another quick look at the risk regions and the tornado potential that will continue to move east as we go throughout tonight into those early morning hours. And just want to be on lookout if you're in western North Carolina, most of Tennessee and northern Georgia, and even getting into South Carolina as well. The risk won't be as high in those regions as it was in Mississippi and Alabama today, but the possibilities for some severe storms still exist there. But that's all I have for you guys right here. I'm going to pass things off now to the wall with Riley, and he's going to give you guys even more in-depth look.
Yes, Tyler, and we do want to mention that over the state of Alabama right now, just because we're not seeing any tornadoes right now does not mean the threat is over. We should be still experiencing the chance at seeing some severe weather and tornadoes as we head throughout the night. For most of the state, that midnight hour is really where we could be expecting the conditions to start to die down. So just because we don't have too many tornado warnings right now doesn't mean you are in the clear there. I do want to take a look back, Tyler, if we could go to our current radar in the area, and we still have a bulk of that rain over portions of Alabama. And here is a look at our watches and warnings. And we still have this tornado watch in portions of northern Alabama in effect until 8 p.m. Central Time as we head a little farther towards our north in places like Tennessee into Kentucky. These tornado watches are in effect a little bit later, more towards 11 p.m. So that's the time frame we're looking for right now. If we can take a look, actually switch gears to Georgia, that severe thunderstorm warning that's just north of Atlanta, is that, I think they just put that into effect. I don't know, just zoom north of Atlanta here. Take a look at this storm right now, because I did think maybe I was seeing a little bit of rotation on that. We'll see. It's not a warned storm right now, but if you'd like to zoom, right into this storm right here and put on the velocities for me, I'd like to just take a look at that, see what we can see. Not seeing much in terms of rotation right now. So that is good news. This does seem just to be a thunderstorm moving through the area. But why don't we go take a look there at one of these severe thunderstorm warnings farther towards our west. And why don't we do this one up here or just over the Alabama-Mississippi border into portions of Tennessee. And notice this is along I-40 to the east of Memphis, and this is including moving into areas such as Clifton. The counties, do you want to click on them and see if it tells us what counties we have the severe thunderstorm warning for us, Tyler? I don't know, it might not be popping up, but if you are basically towards the south of Waverly, around the Clifton, just north of Corniff area, that's where we do have a severe thunderstorm warning moving in. You want to get indoors for that. Still the potential for things such as hail with a storm like this. And even though it's a severe thunderstorm warning, even even sometimes you get a tornado with those. Not saying that this is the case with this one, absolutely, but especially on a severe weather day like this, you do want to be prepared. So there we go. The severe thunderstorm warning is in effect until this evening at 7 p.m. Central Time. So that will be coming up in about 10 minutes here. We'll allow this warning to expire unless it is, what did we see? Right there, we got a tornado warning that is now in effect for this storm, and that is just south of Clifton. So you do want to make sure if you are in this area, this is just south of Clifton. This tornado warning is now in effect until 7:30 p.m. So we got about 40 minutes on that one. If you are in this red polygon here, you want to make sure you are getting to that safe zone, lowest location in your home, away from windows. If you have a basement, that is ideal, but in this part of the country especially, we do not have many basements, so the lowest, most interior portion of your home is the best bet for this one. I mean, it was nice not seeing the tornado warnings, but we do have one to pop up, so why don't we check the velocities on this one, Tyler? And we can notice, I mean, it's a little glitchy here, but we do see a lot of reds and greens in close proximity. And what that means, those reds are moving away from the radar, those greens are moving towards the radar. And where you see them kind of close, like right in here, I believe that is what they're warning. It's hard to tell just with how bad we are getting this feed from. But where you see those greens and reds in close proximity, that's about where you have the tornado. Do you have a correlation effect? We can put the correlation coefficient on that and see, you know, we do see some lighter colors that might indicate some more hail right now, but we'll have to just wait on that one regardless. What we are seeing is a tornado warning in effect. And which county is this here in Tennessee? It's just to the south of Clifton. Want to make sure we have you know, the right geographical information for you guys this evening.
I'll try and help.
So yeah, we're going to go figure out which county this is for you. Doing it the best means possible. But even if you're not in this tornado warning, we do have you know, some indication this is a very strong storm moving through. Places like Clifton, just outside that warning, I would still get to your safe space right now. It is important to do so there. So I'm just waiting to get that county information on for you because, you know, it's the general idea is this is south of Clifton, north of Corniff, pretty much sandwiched in between right now where we see where that potential tornado would be. And that is continuing to move towards the east, a little bit northeast at times. And we will definitely, if you are familiar with these cities, we want to make sure that you are getting into that safe space now. And we have had quite a bit of a, quite a big day for severe weather today. We did have that tornado move through portions of Alabama earlier. Tyler, if you want to zoom out here and we can try to get a bigger picture of what we are seeing this evening. Again, if you are in between around Corniff, Clifton area in Tennessee, you want to make sure you're getting in that safe space now with that tornado warning that is radar indicated as of now. No reports right now of a confirmed tornado. But here are, again, portions of northern Alabama. So this is associated with that tornado we did see move through our area earlier. That was about a 100-mile track for this tornado. It was a very large, destructive tornado. Unfortunately, we have seen 5 deaths earlier today in the state of Alabama. Unfortunately, that does occur with these tornadoes, but our job right now is to try to make sure that if you're in any of these zones, you are doing the best you can to stay safe, and when a warning does occur, we will give that to you. So now we want to head things off to Becca, who is at the desk, who has more information about what we saw today with this severe weather outbreak.
We had a decent amount of severe weather today, and the tornado that everyone seems to be talking about is the Centerville tornado. So if you don't know where Centerville is, it's in Alabama, so Centerville and Alabama. I'm looking at it right now on a map, doing my best to describe it to you. It's south of Birmingham, kind of situated between Tuscaloosa and Montgomery, Alabama. So not any major highways that I could easily point out, but that is the tornado that they are talking about. And the reason that this is being talked about so much is because they are predicting it to come out as a EF4, EF5 tornado. So if I am remembering correctly, it has been a while since we've seen an EF5. I saw a statistic earlier when we were prepping for this that let's see, it has been 2,866 days in the United States. So that's roughly 8 years since our last recorded EF5 tornado, which is why people are really talking about this tornado that we have going through Centerville. It is predicted to be coming out with about an EF4, EF5, and that is extremely severe, extremely dangerous, and extremely destructive, which is why, unfortunately, those 5 deaths that came out of the severe weather today are all going to be in Centerville and Calhoun County. So they're going to be situated, not necessarily in Centerville, sorry, my mistake, but in Calhoun County with the Centerville tornado. Right now, we're looking at a picture of some of the damage. So when I'm telling you that these storms are severe, you can look, this house is demolished, this is unlivable, this is unfixable. So a lot of these places that we're seeing that went through the Centerville tornado are basically demolished. I was looking at lots of pictures of houses, trees, almost like 1 in 5 trees is still standing. So there is a decent amount of debris that came from this, which can be expected from an EF5, EF4 tornado, which is what is assuming to be come out to be. That is still up in speculation as they are going over the statistics of the tornado. But again, you can see clearly that this was not some trivial weather going through. And what's really important about this is that that same spout of severe weather that really did this to a huge portion of Alabama and a huge portion of the population is still moving right across our country. And that threat, while there are no current really tornadoes going on right now, that threat still poses itself for the remainder of the night as this moves across the country. So that is what's really concerning. We already saw how much potential this storm has, and it did do a decent amount of damage in Centerville. Thankfully, the sun has set, so that's going to take back some of the energy that was fueling these storms. However, that storm system is still moving through the country. Right now, we're looking at it move across into Atlanta, and I believe just before the show, we had new watches going up for Atlanta and Tennessee. So those were 2 new watches going up as it moved through Mississippi to Alabama. Now it is pushing over to the east and to the north in Tennessee and in Atlanta. This is the storm's main source system, I believe, is going to Atlanta, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, currently we do have a severe thunderstorm warning just to the north of Atlanta. We're trying to pull that up now, trying to get better velocities on that for you. But we do have a severe thunderstorm warning.
Absolutely, and as Riley was just showing us, he was showing us a severe thunderstorm that turned into a tornado warning. So obviously severe thunderstorms have the potential to produce tornadic storms. One of the biggest things that I am concerned about in the area of Atlanta, obviously it's a little bit north of Atlanta, but there is major highways going into Atlanta. That main highway you see going right into Atlanta, that's I-75, that is a major highway that the storm system is moving directly across. So I know my family is planning on driving down to Florida on that highway. I've driven it several times myself. As you get towards Atlanta, it can be up to 8 lanes of a highway. So that is lots of traffic that could potentially be moving through there right now. So it is important that all of these people that hopefully are being weather aware, staying on top of what's going on in that area, because they now have, just north of Atlanta, as Riley was saying, a severe thunderstorm warning that can easily, if there was the ability, it can easily turn into something tornadic. So again,
Yes.
We're looking at it just north. You can almost see that orange box right there, and that is directly through I-75, which again, major roadway. I have been on that road several times, and we're looking at 575 as well. So those are 2 major roadways going through that, over almost spanning over the length of 2 counties. And you can see just outside the radar loop right there, that is the severe weather right there that they were talking about, the tornadoes.
Yeah, we're having trouble just getting the radar up for our viewers right now. From a little bit you can see it's a pretty nasty storm. There is the potential that there may be some rotation currently in this storm. Unfortunately, we're not able to show you right now, but if you are in the area just to the southeast of Rome and to the south of Tate, Georgia. And again, that's north of the Atlanta metro area, through highways like I-75 and I-575 as well. And there we go. Here is a look at that storm right now. So now that we have the radar up, if over there, guys, you can try to get us the velocities on this, see if we do have any rotation. It's currently a severe thunderstorm warning, so the National Weather Service has not decided to make this a tornado warning, but we have seen signs of a strengthening storm, which is not good news. And this is where we're starting to see our shifts into the Georgia area. Now that we're getting later into this severe weather event, it's more significant for portions of more eastern areas. And again, having some problems with our radar this evening, but we are seeing a pretty nasty storm moving in. The velocities are currently unavailable in the Atlanta metro area, unfortunately, this evening. So we do have our radar right now. Not going to be able to show those velocities this evening, but can we go back to that storm in Tennessee, get a little update on that one? We still have that warning in effect for, I believe, the county. That is going to be, just missed it here, but we do have a tornado warning in Hardin County again this evening. This is just to the east of Savannah, Tennessee right now. And again, this tornado warning is in effect until 8:30 this evening local time, or I believe 7:30 local time if we are talking Central Time, where this storm currently is located. So this is still to the south of Clifton, just around that Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee border this evening. And if we can get the velocities on this one, see if we have some rotation. Again, yeah, we do have some greens and reds mixing in there, indicating winds of different direction this evening. So unfortunately, this is a pretty nasty storm moving in. So if you are in Hardin County, again, Hardin County this evening, you want to make sure you're getting to that safe space, lowest level of your home, most interior room. Protect yourself from the outside, because if a tornado does touch down, which we've seen a history from the severe weather outbreak today of producing some pretty dangerous tornadoes, it's important that you're not going out to look for these storms, which are very likely rain wrapped, especially in the southeast here. So don't look for the tornado before you take shelter this evening. That is something very important to take away from this. And why don't we take a look at the big picture right now, Tyler, see if there's anything more to look at before we send things over to you. It does look like we are, cutting back on this tornado watches in portions of Mississippi. For the majority of the state of Mississippi, we've seen that pretty much turn away, but we do have a new tornado warning again. We had that little break. We don't want that little lull of severe weather to keep us from being weather aware, because in about Butler, Alabama, we are currently under a tornado warning. And do we have velocities for Butler?
Yep.
Yeah, and we'll take a look here at the velocities for Butler. Not getting the most clear images of our velocities this evening. I'm not seeing too much indication of rotation with that one, but again, the National Weather Service, the professionals there did see enough that would indicate we have a potential for seeing a tornado here. So again, Butler, Alabama, lowest level of your home, most interior room. Tyler, do you have more on this?
Yeah, I do. Pull up the correlation coefficient here. We do have some brighter colors here, but that does not necessarily indicate that there is a tornado. This tornado warning right now is in Choctaw County, Alabama, through the city of Butler. So we are seeing some pretty heavy rainfall there, but nothing indicating a tornado yet. No hook, no rotation. But if you are in that severe thunderstorm or the tornado warning area, be sure to take shelter. Also in this orange, you're within a severe thunderstorm region as well. So over the next 20 to 30 minutes or so, you're going to see some severe weather in those regions. Let's take a look back at Tennessee. Here, still have the active tornado warning. Take a look at the velocity vectors here, although we're on the outskirts, a little bit hard to see, but it does indicate that there might be a little bit of rotation here with the greens and reds blending in together. Let's take a look at the correlation. Once again, this is kind of on the outskirts of the viewing area right here, but seeing a little bit there with the brighter colors and the correlation coefficient, but nothing necessarily indicating that there is a tornado right now. But to the east, we just saw another tornado warning popping up ahead of the existing one here. So let's zoom in, see what cities are here. So just north of Collinwood, still including Clifton, just south of Linden, and really south this US 412 State Road here. So we're seeing this new tornado warning. Let's see if I can pull up which counties this is in. Hasn't updated yet, but to just continue to monitor this area as it continues to move towards the northeast here, starting to approach Columbia, which Columbia, Tennessee is now in a severe thunderstorm warning. So these storms are approaching Nashville, Tennessee. So if you live in Nashville or the surrounding region, you're going to start to see some severe weather soon. So be sure to be prepared. Get to the most indoor room in your house. If you have any rooms without windows, that's a great place to be in the inner parts of your house there. So Nashville, we're going to see some storms moving through there for a while. Let's take a look at northwest Georgia again. I'll turn off the radar real quick just to see. We still have the severe thunderstorm warning, but no tornado warning there. Just going to continue to see some pretty heavy rainfall moving through northwest Georgia here, but really you saw earlier in this radar loop, Gadsden just getting slammed with heavy precipitation and thunderstorms here, but starting to move out, clear out a little bit, but still seeing some risk for some severe weather there. So I'm going to go back over kind of outlining what the severe weather risk was today. So that high risk was here in northern Alabama. We're starting to see that move even further north towards Nashville and to the east now is where our biggest risk is. But for most of the day, this high risk was that 5 out of 5, or close to a 5 out of 5 chance of seeing a severe thunderstorm here in northern central Alabama, as well as parts of southern Tennessee and eastern Mississippi. We're going to continue to see that tornado potential move to the east towards Atlanta and getting into western North Carolina by the time we get to about 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday. And then let's just take a look how the weather will continue to move to the east here. We're going to continue to see lines of thunderstorms moving east. Tennessee, you guys really aren't going to be out of the clear until around 4 a.m. or so. And once we get to 8 o'clock in the morning, still going to see some storms getting through central Georgia as well as South Carolina and parts of North Carolina, but most of that severe weather risk is going to be gone by then. But I'm going to go back now to our radar and see if anything is updated here. Oh, that tornado watch has now, for some regions, the tornado watch has expired. So tornado watch is now moving further to the north, encapsulating parts of central Tennessee, northwest Georgia, and still large parts of Alabama. I'm going to zoom back in here. The tornado warning here in Alabama, I believe, has extended. Let's see if I can find which counties this is for real quick. Choctaw County is one of the tornado warnings. Still hasn't updated for the other one. Let's move back up to Tennessee, though, where we have tornado warnings for Lewis, Perry, and Wayne County. So if you are in any of those counties, to the west of Lawrenceburg, to the south of Clifton, you just need to be aware of the weather there. And I'll move back to northwest Georgia, see if any of those storms have developed before I pass things back on to Riley here. So I'll give her the radar here. We still have severe thunderstorm warning moving through these counties north of Atlanta, so north of Roswell, south of Tate, along that parts of the Interstate 575 corridor, as well as the I-75 corridor as well. So these are just some of the active storms we're seeing right now. I'll zoom things back out and we'll pass things back off to Riley at the wall.
Yes, Tyler, and I do have a county map, so I could try to line up some counties now to what we are seeing. But we have a tornado warning currently in southern portions of Alabama, southern portions of Tennessee. Those are our two main warnings we want to focus in right now. So let's head down to the one near Bartow, Alabama this evening. And if we do line up these counties, that does appear to be, Choctaw and portions of Clark and Marango counties here in Alabama. And if I match that up a little bit more. That does seem to, yeah, where we have Butler, and that might be moving into portions of Marango County this evening. I'm not 100% certain on that geography, so I do apologize. But do we have the velocities we can get on this one more time for us, Tyler? Yeah, it's difficult to see because we are pretty far outside of the range. But we do have, if we did have a radar that was a little bit closer this evening, we would have been able to show these velocities a little bit better for you. Regardless, we do have a storm that's moving from around the Butler, Alabama area up towards the northeast. So areas like Route 43 into cities such as Linden and even eventually between Uniontown and Alberta is where we are expecting this storm to move. So if this does hold together that circulation, that tornado warning will be extended like it just was recently for cities like Linden, where we are under this tornado threat right now. So if you are under this tornado warning inside this red shaded area, as you head south of Demopolis into cities like Linden, into Sweetwater, pretty much in between Linden and Sweetwater is where you need to get to that shelter right now. Lowest room of your floor, most interior place of the house away from windows is the best thing you can do in this situation, because oftentimes if a strong tornado does move through, that interior room may potentially be the only thing left. So you want to prepare for the worst case scenario. Hopefully this one does not reach the ground, isn't confirmed, but in that event we want to make sure we are on the safe side. And here's a look at that correlation coefficient. We are seeing some greens, which does indicate there might be something more than just rain in the atmosphere right now. That could be something indicating maybe potential for some hail. If there's a tornado on the ground, it is more likely that we'd see a more defined area of these lighter colors and these blues that could indicate something. So the good news right now, doesn't look like we have any debris from this tornado, but we will continue to look for that for you tonight. Now, let's try to get to that other tornado warning in southern Tennessee this evening. And I want to make sure I get the counties correct on that one for you as well. And that does look to be for portions, Hardin County is right here. So this is where we have Hardin County. We still have that tornado warning in effect just to the east of Savannah. Now, this is eventually going to start moving into Wayne County. That includes portions, cities such as Collinwood, Clifton. If this holds together, you might be in the line for this danger in Hohenwald. And this does include Route 64. So if you're driving along Route 64 this evening, you know anyone that may be driving along Route 64 in Wayne County, definitely want to give them a heads up. They're driving into a storm that is tornado warned. And the worst place to be at this time is on the road driving when you have a storm like this moving through. Definitely important to get into that safe place, a sturdy building, and take shelter while you wait this one out this evening. So let's zoom out to our big map, see if we have anything else noticeable right now. We do have that severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect for Columbia, Tennessee. But again, let's go to the severe thunderstorm warning we are seeing currently to the north of Atlanta. Again, right now this just looks like a blob of moisture, some strong winds associated with this, which is why the National Weather Service likely decided to issue that severe thunderstorm warning. So we have a lot of heavy rain, some thunder, some lightning, and strong wind gusts moving through just to the north of Atlanta right now. So definitely not the time to be outside, not the time to be driving along I-75 or I-575 this evening. These strong storms are moving into cities such as Tate and Roswell. So we do definitely want to make sure we are being well weather aware this evening. All across the southeast, especially in areas where that weather is heading downhill. So with that, I do want to send things off to Becca, who has some more information for us back at the desk.
Yes, I do. I just got an update for what we were talking about, the remaining warning in Alabama. There is now a second warning issued in Alabama, just north, just a little bit northeast of the first warning. The county is Marango, so Marango, Alabama, and it's just, we are looking at Butler, Alabama, and this warning looks like just a continuation of where that storm is headed. So Riley was saying that it's moving, and it is moving, and that is where the warning is. So if we could take a look, you can see it on the map, those two red triangular rectangular shapes, those are the two warnings. So that second warning just got added. So you can see the storms moving through, and they are moving the warnings with it as that storm moves. So definitely, I know it's the tail end, and people might be thinking they are in the clear, but this is definitely something to stay on top of. So that last warning is signifying that this storm still has the potential and is still creating strong enough weather to produce tornadoes enough that there is a warning issued out. So that, if you look at the radar, that really is the tail end of the weather moving through Mississippi and Alabama. However, it just so happens that that tail end has enough energy, has enough in it to produce those two tornado warnings. So there are 4 active tornado warnings at the moment, and that means that today, including these 4, we've had over 20 tornado warnings, which that's a lot. So that spans starting at around 3:30, I believe, was the first one issued, and the last one issued, well, not the last one, there are expected to be several more as the night continues, unfortunately, but just about 8 minutes ago. So there are 4 active ones right now. So those counties are going to be Hardin in Tennessee, Choctaw in Alabama, Lewis Perry and Wayne in Tennessee, and Marango in Alabama. So we have 2 in Alabama, 2 in Tennessee active right now. The most recent one that I was talking about in Alabama, so that one has the longest run time. It was obviously just put in a few minutes ago, so that one expires in 44 minutes. The remaining all have about 15 minutes to half an hour left as the weather moves through. But what we are seeing is as the weather is moving through, this severe weather, this potentially tornadic weather, as it is moving through, the warnings being issued are following it. So it's not slowing down at all. The warnings are following the storm. So that is definitely something to be watching. So if we're looking at some of these counties that are ahead of the warnings that are currently issued, so it looks like in Alabama, if we are going to have a continuation forecast, if you will, it looks like it is headed towards Selma. So that is the next big city heading just north of Selma. So if we are going to continue issuing warnings as the storm moves through, we could be seeing it move a little bit north, a little bit to the east. So definitely anyone that is in those surrounding counties to the north and to the east, you definitely want to be weather aware right now, definitely watching out and having some form of communication to know if these warnings are going to come to you. And as Riley has been saying the whole show, if you are in a warning, it is definitely important to get to those lowest places in your house. I know some places don't have a basement. Not every home is going to have a basement. If you do not have a basement, the most interior room in your house on the lowest level floor. So you're looking to avoid glass. So places where that could be is definitely like a bathroom. If you have a coat closet, if you have a pantry, something enclosed that's going to keep you safe and away from any potential debris or glass that could be flying. So that is definitely something to think about if you are in these areas or if you are watching the storm and it is headed your way. If we transition to looking a little bit further north in Tennessee, that is the other area where we have the active tornado warnings at the moment. And the same thing is happening there. So you saw we had just one tornado warning, and as it is moving a little bit to the northeast, a second one was issued directly in the line of the storm. So that is another example of that severe thunderstorm warning that turned into a tornado warning, and that is following the storm path. So we have a nice storm track right here that's going directly diagonal across Tennessee, and that is just moving north. And these storms are moving fairly fast. I've been seeing about 60 miles per hour average for the storms, so that is definitely some fast moving. We've about 15-minute intervals roughly between the warnings being issued. So these were issued about the start of the show, and we're getting those second ones following those storms just roughly 15-20 minutes after. So if we look at the Tennessee storms, what I'm seeing ahead of that is areas of Columbia, Franklin, and eventually Nashville. That is where the storm is headed. That Tennessee storm, the two warnings, that storm that is producing those warnings is headed up to Nashville. So that is really going to be a main focus. Obviously, that is a highly populated area, and there's lots of people there, lots of industry for these storms to really wreak havoc on. And obviously, they have the potential. We're going to take a look again at some of the potential these storms have. You can see just how badly this house was damaged. It looks like the entire roof was taken off. That top level looks unlivable. That is absolutely insane. In the background, you can see the trees there's only 2 trees standing, and they are bare. If that doesn't show you how much energy and how much power these storms have, the same storms that are moving through, going to go through the Nashville area, going to go through the Atlanta area, and going through southeast Alabama right now. So that is definitely something that we need to keep an eye on, and should make you almost a little, like, if you don't feel concerned, I would be a little bit worried. They definitely have the potential to produce some drastic and devastating impacts on these areas. As we saw in Centerville earlier, I have to imagine that picture that we just saw was also coming from areas that were impacted by those tornadoes earlier. So these storm tracks are the exact same ones that caused so much damage earlier in the day, pushing a little bit further out. So right now it looks like the majority of the severe weather is covering North Georgia, getting into South Carolina and North Carolina and the eastern part of Tennessee. However, those tornadic potential storms are really on the tail ends. It is the tail ends of the 2 storm lines that are getting those tornado warnings, which is a little bit concerning. Then people might be thinking that they are in the clear, the main weather has passed. If you look at the radar, the bulk of it is not, the warnings are not associated with the bulk of the weather. They are the tail ends. So people might be thinking that they're in the clear, that they have survived, that they have gotten through with the bulk of these storms. However, that is not the case. These lingering storms that are wrapping up this low pressure system are the ones that are currently producing those tornado warnings. So definitely, if you have friends, if you have family, if you are in either the Alabama area, we're looking just over the border in Alabama, southeast Alabama, or in just to the east of Memphis, Tennessee, that is definitely something that we're going to want to look at. You can see there is now a severe thunderstorm warning just to the southwest of Nashville. That's exactly what I'm saying. These warnings are moving with the storms. So the last severe thunderstorm warning turned into a severe tornado warning. We can only hope that that doesn't happen as we progress into Nashville, but that is the trend that we have been seeing lately. So that is definitely something to keep watch on. We will definitely keep an eye on if this severe thunderstorm warning turns into anything else. At the moment, I am not seeing any new warnings, just the 4 that we have been talking about. So those are the 4 main warnings that we have going on. And I think I'm going to hand things over to Tyler if he wants to expand a little bit, show us a little bit of the radar and how these really are the tail ends of the storms that we're seeing. The bulk of it is not what's producing the tornadic activity at the moment.
Yeah, it really is the tail end of the storms, just like Becca's been saying. Still have that tornado warning in southern Alabama right here. That has not gone away. I expect as these storms start to move out over the next half hour to an hour or so, we'll start to see those tornado warnings down south expire as southern Alabama finally starts to move out of the risk region. Something I want to highlight, though, is northwest Georgia. Did see some heavier rainfall and thunderstorms earlier, looking a little bit lighter right now in regards to precipitation, but we're going to see these more powerful thunderstorm cells move through the region, and this is really where our tornado potential is at its greatest. I'll pull that back up. The tornado potential will continue to move east in just north of Atlanta and then moving into Atlanta. So really, these storms are storms you want to keep an eye on because the tornado potential is at least moderate there. So that's where we're going to start to see more of our risk move towards as we go throughout the night. Right now, Tennessee is has tornado warnings in their southwest as well as severe thunderstorm warnings moving towards Nashville. As we go throughout the night, we're going to start to see that move towards the east parts of Tennessee into the western parts of North Carolina. I'm going to bring back up the radar here. No new tornado warnings here, and doesn't look like there's any new severe thunderstorm warnings either. We still have this one here to the southwest of Nashville. I expect as we continue to see storms, might see some more warnings pop up to the south of Nashville here, depending on how these storms develop. Let's see if we can get some velocity going here. Still on the outskirts of that Birmingham radar, having some issues with some of our other radars, so that's what we have to work with at the moment. So can't see any clear rotation here. We'll see if we can see anything from the correlation coefficient. I've still seen some of those brighter colors, which could indicate some hail falling. Doesn't look like there's any debris to be seen from the correlation coefficient. Let's try see if the Nashville radar is working right now. So we can see some of the storms here from that severe thunderstorm warning at least starting to approach Nashville there. So seeing some pretty heavy rainfall to the west of Columbia, and it's going to continue to move towards Nashville. Nashville's still seeing some storms move through, but no severe thunderstorms at the moment. Let's see if pull up the velocity vectors if we can. It looks like that's not going to work for Nashville, so pull back up the Birmingham radar and move back south towards Alabama. Still seeing the tornado warnings here as well. Severe thunderstorm warning to the south of Tuscaloosa right now, just south of Interstate 20. Seeing some very heavy rainfall there to the north of Demopolis, continuing to move towards the northeast. Brent just got through a line of thunderstorms there. Might see some more continue to approach as these storms continue to move towards the northeast. That's the general trend of the storm tracks right now, moving towards the northeast into northwest Georgia, where we're going to see a lot of these thunderstorms start to develop. So even though North Carolina is outside the scope of our radar right now, I'm going to pull up the Raleigh radar. Hopefully it can show us something here. Okay, here we go. So we do have a severe thunderstorm warning here to the east of Greensboro, North Carolina. So no rotation indicated with these storms yet, but still strong enough wind speeds to be warned as a severe thunderstorm warning. I'm not sure exactly which county this is yet. I'll try and look into that as we continue to look through these storms. We'll zoom back out. Go back towards Alabama, where we're starting to see really the southern parts of Alabama, not out of the clear yet, still underneath a tornado watch until 8 p.m. Central Time, but just to the south of Montgomery, still might see some rainfall, but for the most part, things are looking a lot clearer and a lot nicer than they were earlier in the day. Here in this severe thunderstorm warning, still very heavy rainfall there. Wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of hail as well associated with these severe thunderstorms. Looking at the correlation coefficient, might see a little bit in there, but nothing confirmed yet in regards to hail. So no huge updates as with regards to tornado warnings. Still seeing some severe thunderstorm warnings, and starting to see things move into North Carolina. And pull up large-scale radar here. So looking at severe thunderstorm warning right around here as these storms continue to move through to the east of Greensboro. So western North Carolina is where we're going to start to see some of these storms develop now, as well as northwest Georgia. So just as a reminder now, this was what our severe weather risk looked like today. Most of this is moving to the east now as we go throughout the night, as well as that tornado potential moving through eastern Tennessee into western North Carolina, as well as Atlanta. And here's what our future radar is looking like. We're going to see those storms continue that trend of moving to the east, northeast, depending on which cells you're looking at, and starting to dissipate as we get into 8:30, but still going to see some storms in central Georgia, central South Carolina, as well as different parts of North Carolina. Now, I'm going to pass things back to the wall with Riley and see if he has anything new.
Yeah, well, one good thing about that, Tyler, with North Carolina's tornado threat is the temperatures are a lot cooler out in portions of North Carolina. Temperatures are in the 60s for most of this region, so there's not as much lift in the atmosphere because of that. There's not as much instability that will help to fuel storms. It still does not mean you're out of the woods for a tornado. It just means that the threat and the risk is not as high as what we saw, especially earlier today, over portions of Alabama and Georgia. And an update I do have for you guys is this tornado watch for portions of northern Georgia has been extended until 2 a.m. this evening. As expected, the severe weather threat is far from over, and we need to continue to reflect that with this tornado watch, and extending that from its expiration date from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. is an important way to do that. It does look like what we did have a severe thunderstorm warning on a little bit earlier has, currently continuing to stay severe. This severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for cities like Canton in Georgia. And if I try to get that county to try to match it up here, well, there we go. It just disappeared. So as I said, the severe thunderstorm warning, the storm seems to be dissipating and be going past the severe limits there. As we can see, all those deep reds and oranges kind of disappeared there. Now, as we take a look at what we are seeing in portions of Alabama, we still do have some tornado warnings in effect. And let's head down south to, right here. And I believe this county right here would be Marango County. We still have a tornado warning in effect for Marango County. This includes cities like Linden, Sweetwater, Demopolis, and it does look like we're kind of starting to see, if we could just freeze the radar at the most recent scan, Tyler, it does look like we do have, maybe a little bit of a bow echo forming or a hook echo forming in this storm right now, where you kind of see where that little hook would be. That would indicate where that tornado would be. So especially, this looks right in between Sweetwater, or this is in between Sweetwater and Linden right now, where we would expect that tornado to be. If this tornado warning does get extended, cities like Thomaston could be in the line for danger right now. So you want to be on high alert if you're anywhere in between the Sweetwater, Linden, Thomaston area, as we do have a severe thunderstorm that is capable of producing a tornado right now with the shape of that hook echo. It is never a good sign when you see that. And if we take a look at our velocities right now, we might be able to see that no, we're not getting good velocities this evening in this portion of the country, unfortunately, but based on the radar scan and our correlation coefficient right now showing some greens and some yellows that might indicate some hail associated with this storm, I would not be surprised as it starts to cross across the interstate or the Route 43, or Route 43, depending on the term that you use. And we do have one more tornado warning to look at this evening. That is for portions of southern Tennessee. And if we take a look back here, get my Tennessee county map up, my little cheat sheet, we have it is now in effect for Wayne County, and that includes the city of Waynesboro. And if this storm does continue to hold together and stay tornado warned, looks like it might be dissipating a little bit, but we still have this tornado warning in effect. As it crosses Route 64, we're going to head into cities like Hohenwald, maybe even between Hohenwald and Lawrenceburg. Those cities in between there is where the storm is expected to go. And this is our tornado warned storm, but if we head a little farther to the northeast, we do see around Route 412, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. This is moving in between cities like Little Lot and Columbia. And this severe thunderstorm warning is still in effect. No rotation indicated on radar right now with this one, so not expecting a tornado out of this, but still not something you want to be outside for right now. And as you can see, our velocities are unfortunately giving us a little bit of a problem this evening. If we see the Nashville radar right now, we're not picking up much in terms of rotation right now, maybe a little bit just to the north of 412 there, but not looking at strong rotation right now, which is good news. So that's what we have the latest on our current tornado warnings and areas of interest in our southeast viewing area this evening. And Becca, what can you tell us about any damage reports that we are currently seeing?
The damage is still coming from those hot areas like the Centerville. So those pictures that we saw earlier, we saw 2 pictures, those are going to be kind of what the majority of them look like. This house is completely flattened over. So and you can see that's the house, the cars. I hope everyone was able to get in that. I know that I was seeing reports of people being pulled out of debris. So definitely a lot of damage in the area. And there's a lot of pictures that are still coming in. And I can only imagine what the people of these areas are going through right now. Kind of a search and rescue mission. Definitely recover any of these areas, and honestly, family members, people. So definitely if you have relatives in these areas, be checking in on them. I know that we had some friends go out storm chasing today, and we were desperately trying to keep in contact with them, making sure they're all smart, they all have great decision-making skills. However, tornadoes don't respect that. They move where they want to move without any regard to what we are doing, what anyone wants them to do. So we were staying in contact with them. Thankfully, they were actually able to see a tornado, I believe, and they are on their way home safe and sound now. So we are thankful for that. 2 areas that we haven't talked about yet, not tornado warnings, but we do have 2 new severe thunderstorm warnings. And I know I had talked about the tail end of these storms, and these are actually out towards more the front. So this is where some of the severe weather is going to start moving into. So again, we have the largest portion covering the eastern portion of Tennessee and Georgia, and there was a severe thunderstorm, and Bradley was talking about how that it got extended in Georgia. But the areas that I am seeing and that I am looking at, there are now some severe thunderstorm warnings in Indiana and Kentucky and Ohio. So those are areas that have not experienced any of this severe weather yet. So they are getting the first rounds, and those are both in Ohio and in Indiana. Those are the southernmost areas that are really experiencing the first bouts of severe weather that they're going to be getting over the next about 24 hours. So we now have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings. One of them is just on the border of Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio. So those counties are going to be Dearborn, Ohio, Boone, and Hamilton. And the other one is in Indiana, and that is going to be Device, Greene, and Martin County. So again, those are just severe thunderstorm warnings, so nothing tornadic, but it is something to keep in mind. Severe thunderstorms can still create damage. It's definitely not something you want to get caught in. So that is something to be watching. If you are in those areas, if you have family in those areas, definitely want to be keeping your eye out on how the weather is moving, what it's doing. As I am looking at the map, it looks like there's one stray area of the storm that is moving from Kentucky over to areas of Ohio, and it looks like it is headed towards Cincinnati. So that is definitely a big city. I have been there, so the people of Cincinnati definitely want to be aware. They look like they're just on the outside of it right now. So definitely have some weather moving through. For the rest of the radar, portions of the Midwest, it's been fairly clear lately, so definitely going to be picking up significantly for the Midwest over the next 24 hours. I know we've been focusing on the southeast, and obviously tornadoes are our highest priority. However, it is not something to be overlooked that there is some significant severe weather that is going to be moving into areas of the Midwest. So we're looking at Indiana. They definitely have a large portion covered in rain and storms at the moment. And again, that severe thunderstorm warning down in the southernmost part of Indiana. And yet you can see that it's extending a little bit up. So that's right where I'm looking in the areas of Indiana. And you can see the 2 faint orange barriers. Those are going to be your severe thunderstorm warnings. So areas that we haven't talked about on the show tonight. So I just want to make you aware that this weather is moving north. So it's not just the southeast that's going to experience this. It is ranging all over the nation. So this storm, it looks like it's connecting all the way from Wisconsin down to the northern portion of Georgia. So there is a lot of severe weather moving through, with the Midwest receiving its first bout of the severe weather that's moving through over the next 24 hours with these. It looks like there's 3 severe thunderstorm warnings now. So, and that is all just moving north. So nothing tornadic, and I don't want to scare you into thinking it's more than it is, but it is something to just be aware of and to keep watch. Just to know that this severe weather is going to be pushing north. So I know it's been very nice in the Midwest over the past few days, but there are going to be there is going to be a decent amount of rain, and there is going to be some storms that are going to be pushing through the next 24 hours. The unfortunate part about all this weather moving through new areas that might not be expecting it is that we're going into the overnight period. So if these storms were going to turn tornadic, it would be hard to notify a large amount of people, as not many people are going to have devices that wake them up. So that's why it's important to be noticed of this now. So again, just severe thunderstorm warnings, but it's something to keep note of as we move into those later hours, where it's going to be harder to spot anything if it did decide to turn tornadic. And again, it's going to be harder to get those warnings out to the public, as some of these areas may not be prepared or expecting a tornado warning or watch. So just if you have, I know I have family in Michigan, I think it's a little, they look like they're getting rain at the moment. Nothing too severe up there, but my sister actually is in Ohio, northern Ohio. But if you're in Ohio, this severe weather is going to be moving through. So again, just something to be aware of. Nothing at the moment suggesting that there would be anything tornadic or that there would be any big, strong tornadoes. But it is just something, as you're going into the night, maybe check your radar, turn on your ringer, have a plan just in case, because that is an area we have not talked about. We focused a lot on the southeast so far, for good reason. There have been some severe tornadoes, and there are still warnings and watches out there for tornadoes and thunderstorms. But this weather is pushing into different areas. We saw that, as Riley talked about, in North Carolina. That is another area that's seeing the first bout of severe weather as this moves through. So that is the front portion of the same line of storms. The tail end is hitting Alabama. The front portion is just now getting into North Carolina. So those same storms are going to be pushing through, impacting a new area. So we saw the damage they did in Mississippi, Alabama. They're now crossing across, and it looks like this larger part goes through Georgia, South Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, and North Carolina. So just something to watch on the radar, how these storms are moving, which areas, if you might be in the line, and if you have any friends or family that could potentially be in the line, maybe just let them know they might have some weather coming. You know, at my house, we always, if we know there's going to be a potentially severe thunderstorm, we fill up a water bottle, we grab a flashlight. Just some precautionary methods to make sure that you are prepared if you did happen to get about a severe weather. I'm going to hand things back over to Tyler now if we have any updates on any of our other watches, warnings, anything new to talk about.
Yep, we saw that these tornado warnings here in southwest Alabama have now expired as these storms continue to move towards the northeast. Still have a severe thunderstorm warning here south of Tuscaloosa. There was some really heavy rainfall earlier, and it looks like some possible hail, but it looks like the storms have weakened slightly, still severe in nature though. Let's see if we can see anything on the correlation coefficient. So nothing really there anymore, but I do wanted to point out the light green colors here. These are flash flood warnings. So the risk is not only with the possible tornadoes and severe thunderstorms, but we're getting torrential downpours from these storms. So you could possibly see flash flooding in any of these light green areas. These are under flash flood warnings. So that is something that you also want to be aware of if you're in central to northern Alabama, northwest Georgia, and southern Tennessee as well. We have 2 tornado warnings left here to the southwest of Nashville. Doesn't appear to be any sort of hook echo or rotation developing, although we're not getting great velocity detection out here, so we can't say for sure. But I did see Nashville has seen some storms move through, and they actually did have hail falling down in the city earlier today. So they're not under a severe thunderstorm warning right now, but they did see some hail fall over there. And Atlanta, or northwest of Atlanta, still seeing some rain, but looks like these stronger storms are just sitting on the border between Alabama and Georgia right now, although no severe thunderstorm warnings there. So we'll move up. It's kind of hard to see because it's grayed out, but here in Indiana and Ohio, we do have these orange boxes. These are severe thunderstorm warnings. So these storms do extend northward outside of our viewing area. It looks like that severe thunderstorm warning in North Carolina expired. So we're still seeing some rain and storm activity there, but nothing severe in nature, no rotation there. And of course, since it is FSU weather, although we have Florida grayed out here, just want to let everyone know that There's nothing to worry about here in Tallahassee. No severe thunderstorms or any sort of thunderstorms are going to be developing here in Tallahassee. So we are in the clear. Might see some activity with rainfall and maybe some non-severe storms in the western part of the Panhandle, but nothing severe here in Florida. And then we'll take one last look at the future radar. We'll pass things off to Riley and see if he has any last things he wants to add before we wrap things up. But here's our future radar here. Going to continue once again to see these storms move to the east. They're moving towards the northeast right now, but as we go into tomorrow morning, going to start to push towards the southeast instead. And once again, the trend we're seeing here is central Georgia is where you're going to be seeing thunderstorms moving through once we get to around 8:45 in the morning, as well as central South Carolina, and then spotty throughout central North Carolina, getting towards the eastern side. But we'll pass things off for one last look with Riley at the wall.
Well, Tyler, we do have that one last tornado warning this evening, and if we look at our radar, we will be able to see that tornado warning pop up here in portions of south central almost now, Tennessee. Now, we even just saw that we did just have 2 tornado warnings here. We're down to 1. This is between Waynesboro and Columbia, Tennessee. So if you are between Waynesboro and Columbia, Tennessee, this is where you want to take shelter, get to the lowest level of your home. And we are seeing indication of some strong rotation with this storm right now. We don't have good velocities on our graphics here at FSU Weather, but we are seeing through posts on Twitter, through our own radar apps, that there is strong rotation with this storm. So inside this red polygon, you do want to take shelter if you are in the path of the tornado, or if you have that emergency alert on your phone that tells you you are under a tornado warning. This is the time to be taking shelter. This includes pretty much the area between Waynesboro and Columbia, and Lawrenceburg and Hohenwald. That is where we are currently under this last tornado warning. We will be covering this evening on FSU Weather. If we can just take a look at the big picture one more time, Tyler, we do want to give you the last few updates before we go here. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning currently. That was what we did have a tornado warning on a little bit earlier. This is just to the south of Tuscaloosa, pretty much between Tuscaloosa and Heiberger. This is what did produce a nasty looking hook echo we saw a little bit ago. That luckily has lifted a little bit. We do have just a severe thunderstorm warning with that. This might make its way to downtown Birmingham. Unfortunately, in the next couple hours, this may be moving into areas that we saw a very dangerous and deadly wedge tornado move through, unfortunately, earlier today. So within the next couple hours, if you are experiencing damage and you did go through that tornado, unfortunately, another nasty storm may be on the way for you. And we do want to mention in Georgia, we still have that tornado watch that is in effect till 2 a.m. So even though we are ending our coverage here tonight on FSU Weather, this is going to be a throughout the night issue. Conditions may still be going downhill in portions of Georgia this evening. Just pretty much from Atlanta north is where we're going to see the worst of that threat persist through the night. Luckily, that storm we did have a severe thunderstorm warning on earlier has kind of dissipated a little bit this evening. So we do want to thank you very much for joining us this evening for our severe weather coverage here on FSU Weather. It was a very deadly and dangerous day across the southeast. Still have that one tornado warning in just south of Nashville in Tennessee. If you are under a tornado warning at any time tonight, you want to make sure you're getting a good way to get those alerts, whether you are there on Twitter. Twitter is a good way to get weather information, especially the government alerts on your phone, and also watch your live coverage. You can watch your local news station, watch the Weather Channel. Any of those media outlets will help keep you updated on what's going on throughout the night. So we're ending our coverage here. There are still many ways to get that coverage across the area. So again, one last time, we have that tornado warning south of Nashville, just to the west of I-65, and still some nasty storms moving their way through portions of Alabama. You could see we cut back the National Weather Service cut back on the tornado warning, or the tornado watch rather, in portions of Alabama. So we're slowly, as the threat continues to move towards the east, we're chipping away at the tornado watch farther to the west, which is good news. Mississippi, luckily today, things were not as bad as they could have been. Unfortunately, for places in Alabama, like just south of Birmingham, we did have that very strong tornado move through earlier today. That tornado debris signature was very concerning, and unfortunately, we have lost lives. And we don't want to lose any more lives as we head throughout the night, so make sure you have a way to keep updated. From all of us here at FSU Weather, have a very safe evening. We'll get through the storms together, and join us tomorrow at 6 p.m. here on FSU Weather. Signing off, I'm student meteorologist Riley Winch.